better than me," recalls Joe. "He was much better. There were a lot of good ball players on the hill at that time, and Lottie, as his friends called him, echoing his mother who couldn't pronounce Larry, was the best. You know how kids choose up sides with a bat, one hand on top of the other, until you reach the end of the handle? When the last band got to the top, the first thing said was, 'We want Lottie.'" Jack McGuire argued with his boss, but Ricky was intractable. Berra would never be more than a Triple-A player. He was too clumsy and too slow, Ricky said, to be a genuine big-league prospect. McGuire never understood Ricky's decision. Berra's coaches, and certainly his opponents, didn't find him either slow or clumsy, though he often appeared to be both. Branch Rickey was simply the greatest judge of talent the baseball world had ever seen, and perhaps, with the possible exception of a man whose path would cross Yogi's, the greatest front office man in the game. In his time, Ricky pegged Jackie Robinson, Roberto Clemente, and dozens of other great players as future stars. He'd been a catcher himself and was capable of evaluating all body types. He understood that baseball was a game that benefited from all manner of physical tools. Yet Ricky, against the advice of his own scout, would not put out the additional $250 to sign Larry Barra. It was the most colossally short-sighted blunder ever made by a baseball executive, surpassing even Boston Red Sox owner Harry Frazie's dealing Babe Ruth to the Yankees in 1920. Frazee, at least, got the incredible sum of $425,000 in cash and loans. If, that is, Ricky's decision was a blunder. In later years, a counter-story would circulate that Ricky was actually being shrewd. He knew he wouldn't be with the Cardinals much longer. He was preparing to leave the St. Louis club for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and his real intention was to hide Berra and sign him for Brooklyn. Joe Garagiola points out that just a couple of months after the tryout, after Ricky'd moved to the Dodgers, he contacted Berra to offer him a contract. "Ricky tried to sign Yogi after he went to work for the Dodgers," says Joe. "Why would he have kept a file on him if he hadn't intended to sign him for Brooklyn?" In 1961, when his autobiography was published, Yogi flat out denied that Ricky had tried to hide him. "I've never believed that. From everything I've heard about him, he's too big a man to do anything like that." In recent years, probably from hearing the opposite version so much, Yogi seems to have reversed his stance on Ricky's intentions. In a 1999 interview with Bob Costas, he said that he believed Ricky had intended all along to keep him for the Dodgers. It's easy to see why. This explanation offers a simple, logical reason for a decision that seems otherwise inexplicable, though Yogi himself might have offered the simplest and best explanation for Ricky's puzzling decision in his 1961 book. "I think it's just that it was getting harder to get players as the war went along, and he remembered me and figured it'd be worth a few $100 to see if I could help him. Anyway, it didn't make any difference." The problem is, there isn't any evidence to support this interpretation. Ricky himself never mentioned it. In his 1965 book, The American Diamond, a documentary of the game of baseball, Ricky devoted a brief entry to Yogi and Campy, Berra and Roy Campanella, the great Dodgers catcher whose extraordinary career parallels Yogi's. "In the last decade," wrote Ricky, "the two dominant catchers in baseball were Roy Campanella of Brooklyn and L.P. Yogi Berra of the New York Yankees. By 1955, they were at the top of their game, and each had earned the Most Valuable Player award in his respective league for the third time. Both men were clutch hitters with extra base power. Both were powerfully built but deceptively fast. Both were very smart behind the plate. Both Campy and Yogi had splendid throwing arms. They've hit over 550 home runs between them, surpassing all catchers in history in this department. Baseball may never see two such talented men for a long time." There isn't a word about Ricky's having passed up a chance to